Hi, my name is David Tutel. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of our land and pay respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Throughout this 5-minute presentation, I will be exploring the concept of identity, together with the loss of Aboriginal culture. I will be analysing and evaluating Oodgeroo Noonuckal's poems, Then and Now and No More Boomerang, to further emphasise the concept. Indigenous Australians and Torres Strait Islanders have each experienced loss of identity and culture at different chapters in our history, with the assimilation policy being the largest impacting incident. The assimilation period had continuing and devastating consequences on identity and culture, as well as damaging health issues, drug and alcohol abuse, and suicide. Study shows that 4 in 10 Indigenous adults had experienced the death of a family member or close friend in 2007. There were procedures put in place to eradicate the language Indigenous and Torres Strait Islanders have used for their whole life, which caused the physical breakdown of a healthy and sacred culture. It was estimated that there were 250 distinct Indigenous languages before European settlement. Now, after the assimilation policy, over 160 are extinct, 70 are under the threat of extinction, and approximately only 20 languages are expected to survive. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders went through countless moments of trauma, from their culture disappearing, along with their tradition, their custom, their land, their family, and their identity. Oodgeroo Noonuccal, known to many as Kath Walker, was born into the midst of racism towards Indigenous Australians and Torres Strait Islanders in 1920. The Australian Aboriginal activist became a poet in the 1950s and was the first Aboriginal woman to publish a book in 1964. One of her many poems, Then and Now, is a very melancholy piece, focusing on the tragic destruction of her memories on the native lands. The poem is about the loss of Aboriginal culture and forced integration into a society she doesn't belong in. Oodgeroo Noonuccal says in her poem that she dreams of her previous life, and dreams of being carefree and happy. However, these dreams are shattered by rushing car, by grinding tram and hissing train. Her poem continues to become more and more depressing and miserable as Noonuccal continues to long for her old life. Then and Now, as the name hints at, demonstrates the contrasting differences between Noonuccal's memories, such as where she remembers the didgeridoo calling them to dance and play, to what they have become now. Offices now, neon lights now, bank and shop and advertisement now. The second poem by Oodgeroo Noonuccal is called No More Boomerangs and delves into the fact that Aboriginals no longer have a lot of their traditional beliefs and understandings. The underlying message is that Aboriginals are unable to live how they used to many years ago, and their culture and identity has diminished. No More Boomerangs essentially explains that Aboriginals are currently worse off than they used to be. Like Then and Now, this poem uses contrasting. Oodgeroo Noonuccal contrasts between how Indigenous people used to live and how they live now. Both of these poems show the diminishing identity and culture that is ever so sacred and important to Indigenous and Torres Strait Islanders. Oodgeroo Noonuccal showed in each of her poems the tragic, long-lasting consequences the assimilation policy produced. Loss of identity and culture, suicide, substance abuse, and many health issues were as a result of the policy. Aboriginal identity and culture is exceedingly important and can be seen in the poems that they have changed and altered into a way of life that is alien and unfamiliar. Coming into a conclusion of this presentation, I would like you to take away that the concept of identity, or more the loss of identity, is a complex and sensitive concept. Indigenous and Torres Strait Islanders' identity, as well as culture, was taken away during the assimilation period. Oodgeroo Noonuccal, or Kath Walker, was an Australian Aboriginal poet, and wrote the poems No More Boomerang and Then and Now, which showed the before and after consequences of assimilation. Through both the poems and through the material I've conversed, it is clear to see there is more than meets the eye when it comes to the concept of identity.